Welcome back to the Place with Cars YouTube channel and another episode of Miniatures Mondays. Today we are back in the garage to take a look at something really cool. I know I missed last week. It's been a little crazy around here with the full-size cars, but we'll get into that in another video later this week. So definitely stick around this week if you are interested in seeing what transpired with the 944. But for now, let's get into the miniatures. And specifically, we are taking a look inside this case right here for more Thunderjet style stuff. You see, we did our big race with Fozar a couple of weeks ago where we raced this little guy right here, this lovely GTO body on the dash chassis. And that was a whole lot of fun. But what I really wanted to talk about were these. This is a 1968/69 AMX. Originally molded and sold by Aurora as a Thunderjet 500 car. This is an original one right here in the orange with the yellow stripes. As you can see, it has some cut wheel wells, but that's, you know, the level of these I can afford because nice ones of these go for insano money. Now, I would love to do an episode on all the different colors of the original Aurora, but that one is really the only one I own. I do have a couple of tough ones, which we'll go over in a second. But the original ones, you had the orange, lemon with black stripes, lime with black stripes, blue with white stripes, and white with red stripes. Those were the five main ones. They are all rare. They are all crazy money when they are in really good shape. And yeah, they're some of the prettiest Thunderjets ever made. Even if you're not a big AMC head like me, they're really, really cool looking, right? They're right up there with the Chargers because they only came in the really good colors. They have the over-the-top stripes that look really good. They have the really unusual thing like the yellow stripe on the orange looks really cool. And frankly, their colors kind of match with the colors on the real car. The orange looks a lot like the Big Bad Orange. The lime looks a lot like the Big Bad Green, etc. So they're really, really popular for collectors. Now, there have been a few different colors that have popped up over time. I have seen 3 different red ones with over-the-top stripes that do appear to be legit Aurora. 2 had white stripes and 1 had silver stripes. Again, don't know how legit they are. I'm not a big Thunderjet guy, you know, like a Bob Beers or someone like that. But I've definitely seen, 3 of them held by collectors that do appear to be the real deal. There's also been rumors of some black painted ones. I've seen a couple of pictures of those. I have not seen one of those in person. I have seen the red ones in person. The black painted stuff from Aurora is always hard because they were painted, not molded. It'd be one thing if it was molded in black, and it'd be really easy to be like, yo, this is a legit thing. But the painted ones, anybody can kind of take a car apart and paint it and put it back together. So that makes that a little bit more difficult. There's also been some test shots and like kind of pre-production prototypes. In fact, I just saw a photo last week on the Rare Slot Cars Facebook page from a guy that has a very extensive collection of really cool, legit OG Aurora stuff of a yellow one with red stripes. That's cool. But enough waffling about the original, let's talk about the tough ones. After Thunderjets and before AFX really took off, Aurora came out with a slightly hopped up T-Jet chassis with some bigger, fatter tires on it. These are not those, these are aftermarket, and some kind of wilder paint schemes called the Tough Ones and Wild Ones. I think there were a couple other different names, but basically they're all colloquially known as Tough Ones because they are T-Jets with bigger tires on them, meant for more racing. And the AMX came in this snow white with blue and a number 5, and a red with a silver top and trunk and number 5. It also came in this blue, white, and red paint scheme, very reminiscent of real AMC racing paint schemes, again with the number 5 on it. Now, quick aside for those of you that are not AMC historians, obviously quite a bit of AMC around these parts. AMC's paint schemes were always red, white, and blue for the entirety of their existence for their official racing schemes. They were not always red on the front, blue on the back. They actually varied quite a bit. In fact, the very, very first ones, the Bonneville Land Speed Racing Javelins, started this trend of having different versions of them. And in 1968, when AMC ran in Trans Am racing with the SCCA and Kaplan Engineering, the 2 cars were reverse of each other. There was a number 3 car and a number 4 car, and one of them was red on the nose, white, and then blue, and the other one was blue on the nose, and then white, and then red. So both versions are actually totally correct. Tons of people that ended up racing cars, whether sponsored by AMC or not, ended up doing paint schemes all sorts of different ways. Obviously, the blue, white, red continued on with the Javelins when Mark Donohue and Penske took over the Trans Am project in '70, mostly due because of their main sponsor, Sunoco Racing Fuels, which runs a dark blue. And that's why the blue color changed from more of the big bad blue style of the earlier cars to the dark Commodore blue of the later ones. That continued on in '71. And then when Penske went to NASCAR racing, the Matadors were blue on the nose, white, and red on the tail because they were sponsored by Coke, and the great big giant red Coke graphic on the hood really popped against the blue and tied in nicely. So both ways are correct. Now, AMXs themselves, I have not really seen any evidence of any AMX being factory painted or run or anything like that in blue, white, red like this. This is inverse to the super stock AMX, which went red, white, blue. As seen here with a Pete's Patriot diecast, the red, white, and blue is the factory super stock AMX optional paint scheme. And same with the shirt. Now that being said, obviously this is meant to be more of a road race car, not a drag car. It's got great big numbers on the side, even though really NASCAR did that. And all of the other tough ones were very similar. There was a yellow and black Firebird, for example, that kind of looked like Titus Racing's Trans Am paint scheme. So clearly what Aurora was doing here was trying to channel the Javelin paint scheme onto the AMX for the tough ones. But it's still a really cool car, and you should definitely add one to your collection. In fact, as you see here, I actually own 2 of them. Now, supposedly these come in 2 variations, an off-white and a snow white, which I believe these 2 are. But honestly, the Aurora molded colors vary so wildly that it's kind of hard to tell whether it was intentional or something that has aged over time or has been, had a little bit of, miscoloration in it from the factory when they molded it. But those are your basic variations. This particular car might be the most common AMX out there from Aurora and tends to go for the most reasonable price, hence me having 2 of them. Now there was one made in the correct red, white, and blue, and we'll get to that one in just a second. But first, one more thing, and that's this correct Big Bad Blue AMX. Again, those of you that are AMC heads don't necessarily know this, so here, let me explain to you. In 1969 only, American Motors released 3 different colors called the Big Bad colors. There was Big Bad Blue, Big Bad Green, and Big Bad Orange. The orange was a bright, screaming orange. In fact, it was the color used on the remake of the General Lee Dukes of Hazzard stuff that came out in the 2000s. That's how bright that color is. There's a Big Bad Blue, which again was the color kind of used on the AMC paint schemes. And then there was the Big Bad Green, which was a screaming lime green color. Now, for '69, those colors went on the Javelin and AMX. And when they were, the bumpers were painted the same color as the body instead of chromed. And so real Big Bad cars have painted bumpers instead of chrome bumpers. And that was kind of one thing about the original Aurora T-Jets, is that they all had chrome bumpers on them. So even though the colors, like I said, the screaming lime, really looked the part, the bumpers gave it away. So this right here is an aftermarket car. This, even though it looks like an original Aurora, this is from Road Race Replicas, and it is actually a resin body, and they made quite a bit of these in quite a bit different colors. They do go for a decent amount because, as you see, they are an excellent quality reproduction. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you would think this is original Aurora, and they are very, very, very cool, especially being that they did factory correct things like this. And even more fun, these cars came with decal sheets with the original correct AMX Go stripes that go over the top for a Go pack. You notice the original Aurora ones, they just had the 2 thick stripes, not the thin pinstripes on the sides, and the Road Race Replicas decals do have those. This is really, really cool. Okay, now we can finally talk about all of these, including this one. Now it's 2024. We're talking 55 years since these cars all came out, And Auto World has re-released the AMX and has made a ton of variations of them, including this very correct super stock paint scheme of the red, white, and blue. Even though it's missing the hood scoop, it is still the right red, white, and blue. It's very cool looking. You got your Matador red, your Frost white, and your Commodore blue on there. And it is a very, very nicely done car. You can see Auto World does a great job with the tampo printing. You've got the AMX quarter circle on there, the 390 emblem, the little marker light on the fender, and even the hood pins. Very, very cool. Now, Auto World has made a ton of variations of the AMX. In fact, I own just about all of them. As you see, their Big Bad Blue has chrome bumpers. This is incorrect to be a real Big Bad Blue car, and they did not do the same thing with their other colors. Here's the Big Bad Green having the correct bumpers, and look at this. The license plate is Big Bad. This is so cool. So they fixed it with the Big Bad Green. Alas, the closest orange they've done is this slightly dark orange that has a little bit of metallic in it. This is not a true Big Bad orange color, which again is much closer to this. So this one has chrome bumpers as well. So hopefully one day we get the Big Bad Orange and the Big Bad Blue with painted bumpers from Auto World to match the green, because this one right here is probably one of my favorite versions of this car. Another notable color is this screaming hot pink here, which actually emulates the AMX that was given to the Playmate of the Year in 1968, which is a pretty wild story. If you ever want to take a hunt down into some true crime stuff, you should check out that story. But this AMX was found and restored. It's been on Jay Leno's garage and stuff like that. So yeah, the pink AMX, again, a factory thing. Auto World also did a series of metallic AMXs. There was this lovely purple metallic, not a factory color by any stretch of the imagination, a dark green metallic that very much matches the original Hunter green, and a dark blue metallic, which again looks a lot like Commodore blue. These are some of the nicest ones they've done. You can see the pinstripes on the blue one there. The green one is from earlier in the runs when they didn't quite add the pinstripes on them yet, but you still have the AMX quarter circle and the 390 emblem. There's also this really awesome midnight blue color with red stripes, which is one of my favorite ones. It even comes with red line tires on it to bring out those red stripes. Very cool. And then there's a couple of variations of white. At first blush, these look identical. You have white with a red stripe. There's no pinstripes on the stripes on either car. You have chrome bumpers on both. So what's the deal? Well, if you look, this one comes with black windows or smoked windows. This one comes with red windows, which actually leads me to another difference between the Auto World and the original Aurora. You'll see the original Aurora does not have a side window. It does have the quarter window in the back, but not the door window, whereas the Auto World ones do. Now, there is a white and red striped car that is in their current 4-lane set that is a set-only car. That one has the pinstripes. I do not have that yet because I don't have the kind of money to throw down on a 4-lane set to get one car that is a third variation of one that I already own 2 of. So that one I probably won't add to the collection unless I happen to find it, for a really good price at some point. But yeah, so there's one more of these still out there. And finally, there was a black made with white stripes. And then there's the super stock AMXs. There's the red, white, and blue one I showed you earlier, and this Hearst special one, which is pretty cool. Again, it's neat that they did the super stock AMX, but it's kind of disappointing that they didn't throw a hood scoop on it. Even a glue-on, stick-on one would have been really cool. And that brings us to today. Auto World has actually recently released a couple more AMXs in 2024. Again, I talked about the set car. There's also, they make an unpainted body series that you can buy. So that would be a plain white molded AMX body, but it will have the glass and the chrome bumpers already melted in. So you have to really screw with it to get all that stuff off so that you can paint it and put it all back together. I don't know why they do it like that. I would much prefer to get the bodies completely raw, so they're a lot easier to paint and customize and then glue in the windows and the bumpers and all that. But the fact that they do it at all is pretty cool. Now, the reason why they did it is for their newest releases. which are these right here. Their dealership series, they have Collier Motors from Pikeville, North Carolina, with the AMX, which is a really cool thing. This first variation here is red with gold stripes, and it has the red line tires on it, and you can see they're really tightening up the tampo printing, and it's getting really, really nice looking. Now the other color is going to make you laugh. It's Big Bad Green, just like the other one we looked at. However, you see this one's plates say AMX 390, not Big Bad Green. It is, however, the correct color. It's got the black over the top stripes, and it's really, really fun that they did it. One thing you'll notice, these bumpers are actually molded or painted in green from the factory, all green, versus the early one here is clearly a chrome bumper with tampo printing over it to get the green. So the green doesn't actually quite match because of the chrome underneath, especially on the back. So that there is your two Big Bad Green variations side by side. And that is all of the AMX slot car that there is to slot car when it comes to Aurora. Now, Tyco, who had the Tyco S series, which was their version of like Thunderjets, also made an AMX. It only came in white and red as far as I know. It's not as nice. The front bumper is a little bit closer to correct and the grille is more inset. But they made the quarter windows, they made the posts for them on the front to make them like vent windows instead of on the back to make them quarter windows. So that always looks really, really funky. Tyco also in their train sets released these super tiny true HO scale, so like 1/87th hollow AMX bodies that went on the rail cars. I believe they made a Camaro as well, but you can see even this one has the stupid vent window instead of the quarter window. Very odd looking. But yeah, this is very much based on their slot car body. And they come in all sorts of fun colors. All right, one last thing to finish this video off with. I talked a little bit about kind of the funky colors like the red and the black and whatnot. One thing to watch out for is called stripping. Stripping is where you take a body and you put it in a stripping medium and you take off the tampo printing in order to get to the bare plastic underneath. It is very common to do on the Tough Ones cars because they are a lot more common, and you end up with cars like this. This is a Phantom car that is all white. Somebody could easily spray some stripes on this in a color other than red and make one that looks like a legit factory Aurora thing. It's going to have, you know, the bumpers melted in, the glass melted in, and all that. One thing about this is if you use the wrong stripper, it will take the chrome off the bumpers. You can see this one has its bumpers painted silver instead of chromed. With the advent of Molotow liquid chrome markers, that's getting a little bit harder to, to get past because now you can re-chrome things. But another thing to really look out for is when you do this strip, and it's going to be kind of hard to tell, but I'm going to really do my best to catch this in the light. This car, you can still see what's called a ghosting effect. Where that big number 5 was on the roof, you can still see even though the car's been stripped. Right there. Do you see the 5? The 5 is still there. You can still see on the hood as well. Now this one's got some sanding marks in it as well where they were really trying to take it out. But you can definitely see that ghosting. The hilarious part about that is this road race replica car. Remember when I talked about the red, white, and blue one being the most common body? What do you see in the door right there? You see that number 5 in the vertical line? Their resin copy, the master that they made this body off of, was the red, white, and blue tough one. And they didn't strip it first. So the 5 is in the mold on every single road race replica car. So if you ever get a car that's a funky color and you're not sure, make sure to really look at it in the light and look for that 5 in the door to see if it's a road race replica car, or that 5 in the roof to see if it's a stripped tough one. Which I will freely admit, the red ones might be, especially the red and silver one that I've seen in person, because the tough one is red and silver. I don't know, it just kind of throws up a flag like that. But anyways, long and the short of it is, if you like 68.9 AMXs and you like slot cars, there's a lot to choose from. Whether you are shopping vintage or new or trying to, get cars that are as close as possible to the real thing, they are all available. They're all really cool and they are super fun to collect. And one day I hope I will have all of the colors. But until then, it's super fun to collect what I get my hands on. All right, that's been all for this episode of Miniatures Mondays. This was a much longer one than usual with all the real car history in there. Let me know your thoughts about that. Did you like it? Did you like learning about the full-size car as well? Or people that have the full-size car that are watching this, you own an AMX, did you know any of this stuff about the slot cars? Does it make you interested in them? Are you going to buy one? Do you have some maybe from your childhood or something like that? Or do you collect them now? If this kind of format is really cool to y'all, I can definitely do it on all sorts of cars, not just AMCs, where we can really deep dive in a whole collection and talk about how it pertains to the real car and back and forth. So yeah, just a whole lot of fun from a collector standpoint, especially somebody that likes the little cars as much as the full-size cars. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll catch you in another one next week on Miniatures Mondays here on the Plays of the Cars YouTube channel.